Hey there, Damon DeMarco here for CreateX3.com. Today I'm going to do what I consider to be a public service announcement for artists. Please hit subscribe down in the thing below. Questions, comments, make sure that you leave them in there. Join our community by going to CreateX3.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. And now, let's get into it. Always work for process, never for outcome. What do I mean about that? The conventional wisdom for project work often says begin with the end in mind. And what I'm saying does not necessarily contradict that. However, what I am advocating is that although you do have a definite end in mind when you begin your journey on any creative endeavor, a spreadsheet that you're making at the office, a novel that you're writing at home, a screenplay, a stage play, it could be anything. Although you have a very good idea of where you want to end up, you must be more interested in process than you are in result. The difference between process and result is fixating your attention on some point in the very far distance and saying, that's where I want to go. That's result-oriented. Process orientation, however, is looking down at your feet in this example and saying to yourself, where are my feet landing? Are they landing on a path? Are they landing on rude stone? Are they stepping on snakes? Are they leading me into a briar patch? Any creative process has to have both. If you don't look down at your feet every once in a while, you're liable to slam into a brick wall as you move forward. By the same token, if you're constantly fixated on the green light in the distance, you'll walk through mud, you'll get bogged down in quicksand. All manner of natural disasters might befall you, and these were all easily avoided if you had just looked down at your feet. Striking a balance between the two of these is a very, very difficult thing for most artists to do, until you come to the realization that neither the process nor the result is the be-all, end-all of your work. Process and result should both remain fluid. Now, whenever I tell this to people, some artists go, oh, but if I have this idea in my head about the result and I don't, if I miss it, then what? To which I say, yes, the result that you end up with might be worse than what you'd imagined. It could be the death mask of what you'd imagined. However, if you let go of the outcome, it could end up being far better than you ever imagined. When I speak of process, I speak of it because largely it's the only thing that we can control. For instance, if you have it in your mind that you're going to be a Broadway playwright and that everyone is going to love your work and it's going to be celebrated the world over, and you'll have not only a Broadway opening but a West End opening and then a film adaptation which will star Tom Hanks and Lily Tomlin, that's a highly specific thing to have in mind. The likelihood that all of those objectives will be checked? Probably not something that you want to go to bed with every night. It will just cause you needless anxiety. However, if you set out to write the very, very best play that you can, with dreams, of course, and hopes that it will someday make it to Broadway, well, how can you set about doing that? Just like when we're imagining how to bake a cake, we say to ourselves, what are the ingredients of a good cake? After consulting recipes, maybe our own experience, a few cookbooks, we would say to ourselves, a good cake should have flour, eggs, vanilla extract, baking powder, and then whatever flavors you think should also go in there. Some ingredients that are very bespoke unto you, allspice, cinnamon, whatever it is that floats your personal boat. If you focus on the process, the ingredients that you're going to put into your cake, and you get them all together, and you make sure that the virtues of that cake are sound, the construction of that cake is sound, then it almost follows as night follows day, that particular cake is going to be good. It might not be the best cake you've ever made. It might not be the best cake that anybody's ever had, but it's certainly going to be unquestionably good because you shepherded the values of that cake. You paid attention to the process. And if you pay attention to process, the results of the process are sure to follow. It doesn't always work the same way moving backward. If you are constantly results-driven, if you settle only for a particular set of results, the process is probably not going to help you out. Again, you can use the result as a template, something to shoot for, a guiding compass needle, if you will. But it always falls back onto process. My old acting teacher, Bill Esper, taught us a valuable lesson when he taught us about the nature of objectives in acting technique. An objective is something that the character wants to achieve. You'll also find me talk a lot about this in my writing course, Break Your Story. Every protagonist must have an objective, otherwise, why should we follow them? But an objective can be a very, very slippery thing. For instance, in the craft craft of acting, Bill Esper taught us that an actor should never push their objective, meaning you don't simply walk into a room filled with people and cry out, "I want to book a $100,000 marketing account tonight." Most people don't do that. Far better to work moment by moment, to enter the room with your objective in mind, and then begin interacting with people, following the moment-to-moment work wherever it takes you. Almost certainly someone will ask you, "Hey, what do you do?" And at that point you say, "I do this." And they say, "That's interesting. I have somebody in mind who I know needs that particular good or that particular service." Or they might even say, "I need that particular good or that particular service." At which point you don't drive your truck right through the conversation and say again, "I want to book a $100,000 marketing campaign today." No, you ask them questions about themselves. You follow their lead. You let them take control. And as they talk more and more about what it is that they want, what it is that they do, eventually the subject comes around to you. It happens almost every time. And somebody will say to you, "Hey, so what is it you do?" And you say, "Well, I do marketing campaigns for people just like you. I have a tremendous amount of experience in that sector." And then someone will say to you, "Well, that's fantastic. Do you have some references, maybe a portfolio that I could take a look at?" And you say, "Sure." "Have you ever discussed the amount of money yet?" "No, of course not, because it's irrelevant. The most important thing is following the process of making the sale, following the process of doing your work. Do not push your objective. Once you know what the objective is, it's very simple to have the objective in your mind and work moment to moment in a way that the objective never really comes up. People who push their objectives all the time are actually pushing people away from them. They are getting in the way of their objective rather than letting the moment to moment work unfold. If you're confident in your objective, that's really all that you need. Let the moment to moment work unfold. Everything generally works out well for you. And if it doesn't work out in that particular meeting, it doesn't really matter, because you can get that person's contact information and you can contact them the next day or the day after, and you can say to them, "Hey, I really enjoyed meeting you. By the way, we never got around to discussing it, but my name is so-and-so and I do this for a living. I remember hearing that you might have need of my service. If you'd like to talk anytime, the door is always open." Do you see how it works? Bill used to tell us, having an objective is like having money in your pocket. Suppose you go to the bank and you take out $100 in cash. You put it into your pocket. Do you walk around your daily errands saying to yourself, "I have $100 in my pocket. I have $100 in my pocket"? Nobody does that. You let go of it. You know what you have in your pocket. That's all that you need to know. You have $100 in your pocket. And suppose you go into a coffee shop because you want to buy a cup of coffee, and the coffee costs, let's say, $5. So you give the barista $5 and they give you back $95 change. Do you then walk around going, "I have $95 in my pocket. I have $95 in my pocket"? Of course not. You know how much money you have in your pocket approximately, and you operate from there as you interact with people on, I'm going to hammer this point again, a moment-to-moment basis. Your objective will never leave you, not once you set it. It's like they say in the military, it's fire and forget. Set it and forget it. And so process becomes something that every artist should work for, and result or objective is something that you set and then forget. I hope this has been helpful for you. Once again, my name is Damon DeMarco for CreateX3.com. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay creative.